Hello again, as you know, I'm Eli the Computer Guy over here for EliTheComputerGuy.com and EverymanIT.com. We are yet again in the Best Buy in Owings Mills, Maryland for some buying advice on buying video cards. So if you bought your desktop computer, maybe you bought an inexpensive one, and then you went to go play video games, you went to go do video editing, and then you found out the video card in the desktop isn't good enough, well, you may have to come and buy a new video card. So video cards are pretty simple, as I say with most of this stuff, as long as you know what to look for. If you know what you need out of your video card, basically you just come in, you pick the one you want, and then you go home. It's all pretty simple. Now the first thing people ask me is they say, Eli, what video card do I need? Well, if you can see here, they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, they've got like 25 video cards. So if you walk in, there's 25 different video cards. And to be honest with you, I don't know what video card you need, but I can tell you the easiest way to figure out what video card you need. What you need to do is you need to go find the piece of software or the game that you're going to be running that you need the video card for. And then on the back, it's going to say System Requirements. And then it's going to say video. So this says video graphics card, DirectX 10.1, 512 RAM, blah, 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 blah. It's going to tell you exactly what you need. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take this information, you're going to come and you're going to look, and you're going to find something that matches that information, and then you're going to buy that. And it's really that simple. You know, video cards, it depends on what you're doing. If all you're going to be doing is surfing the web and typing papers, you don't really need a high-end video card. If you're going to be playing the latest and greatest video games, then you need the best video card you can get your hands on. It really, as always, it depends on you. Now, when you go to buy video cards, the first thing to realize is you're going to hear about ATI and Nvidia video cards. The big thing is that with these cards, they are generally built by companies other than Nvidia or ATI. So Nvidia and ATI create the GPU. They create the graphic processing unit that is then built in to the video cards. So companies like this, IVGA, whatever that is, companies like IVGA buy those GPUs, they then install them onto their own actual hardware, and then they sell that hardware, so they sell the graphics card. So if you go out to buy an Nvidia or an ATI graphics card, just realize they're actually built by other manufacturers. So you know, like Galaxy, so the manufacturer here is Galaxy, and they use a GeForce 8400 GS. This is an Nvidia chipset. So Galaxy is a manufacturer, this is the Nvidia chipset. So when you're looking at your software and the requirements on here, it will tell you the GPU that's required. And then, like I say, you just match it up. Now there's two manufacturers of these GPUs, Nvidia and ATI. By Nvidia. ATI, you know, back 10 years ago when I was still a young buck with a lot of these computer things, Nvidia and ATI were running neck and neck, and sometimes the ATI was better and sometimes Nvidia was better, etc., etc., etc. Well, that was 10 years ago. ATI now basically is an also-ran. So out of all these video cards here, you see 25, they've got like 2 ATI cards. So ATI does create the chipsets for these video cards, but they're an also-ran. You know, there's no benefit to buying an ATI video card, so just buy Nvidia. It'll just be better for you. Now, when you go for Nvidia, you will see that it'll say things like GeForce GT 5200 or 520 here. This is the GPU that is on this particular video card. So generally the higher the number, the more powerful it is. So a 560 is more powerful than a 520. That's all it is. Basically, this is just the equivalent of the processor on the video card itself. Now, when you go to buy the video card, the first thing to think about or to realize is that you can have different card types. So all very powerful video cards are PCI Express video cards. So these go into your PCI Express video slot on your computer. Now back in the day, you could buy different types of cards. You could buy PCI or AGP or PCI Express. AGP, if you have a computer with an AGP slot, basically you just need to replace that computer. It's not good. Hey, look, they just turned the lights on for me. Basically, AGP is an old standard. It's like 5 or 6 years old since it's been replaced now. So if you have an AGP slot, just get rid of your computer. Don't worry about buying a video card. Then you may be looking at PCI video cards or PCI Express. Again, if you're going to be doing real stuff, video gaming, graphics editing, etc., you need a PCI Express video card. If all you're doing is getting on the internet, writing some term papers, etc., PCI is fine. The speed difference between the two types of video cards, you're not going to notice the difference, so you can buy PCI cards. I used to buy PCI cards for myself and my clients sometimes, because when you're dealing with motherboards, sometimes components on the motherboard can go bad and the entire motherboard has not gone bad. So sometimes the PCI Express slot on the motherboard would go bad. So the problem is, if the PCI Express slot goes bad, well then how do you put a video card in it? Well, if you buy a PCI video card, then you can slot it in, and if you're just doing basic stuff, now the computer will work for another 5 years just fine. So that is something to think about. I've done that a lot in my shop. I used to keep an inventory of PCI video cards. The reason is because they're dirt cheap. They're like 40 bucks a piece, and you know, like I say, I mean, you can just shove them into almost any computer and they'll be fine. Now, the next thing that you're going to think about when you're buying the video card is make sure it has the video outputs that you need. So the normal video output for monitors nowadays are what are called DVI. So you can't really see it on here, but just take my word for it. They're DVI ports. For the older monitors, those are VGA ports. So if you want to plug an older monitor into the graphics card that you're buying, make sure that they have VGA ports. They don't all have VGA ports. And then finally, the last type of video output you're normally going to see is HDMI. These are for if you're going to plug this computer into like your TV, so you have a 52-inch, LCD TV, then you would plug the HDMI into something like that TV. So that is something to be very careful about when you buy these video cards. Make sure your monitor can, in fact, plug into the video card. Again, I've had that problem in the past. And then with that's really all you need to know for going out and buying a video card. Again, I'm not going to go into a lot of the specifics about how much RAM. So these actually have their own memory on it. They have their own processors, all of that. I'm not going to go into that because, again, what you need is based on the software you're running. Pick up the piece of software, look at the system requirements, and buy that. If you're really worried about it, the price for these video cards goes anywhere from $50 all the way to the most expensive video card here is $270. So if you're really worried about what video card to buy and you have enough money, what I do, honestly, with my video cards is I just buy the best one. I mean, I am a computer guy and I do have a couple bucks in my bank, but 270 bucks, I just buy that one video card, and I know it'll work for absolutely everything that I'm doing. And that's one of the ways that you can do it. As I tell people, if you buy a $150 video card, it's probably going to do everything that even a gamer needs done. It's not very specific, but at the end of the day, it's true. Now, the final thing when you're buying these video cards is to make sure that you look at the system requirements for the video card itself. So we've already talked about the PCI Express or the PCI, what type of card it is. You also have to look at what the power requirements for these cards are. So, if you buy just a general cheap $50 PCI video card, it's not going to need anything. You just slot it in, you install the drivers, no big deal. You get to the more powerful video cards, and they require specific power requirements. So one of the video cards here requires at least a 500 watt power supply and PCI Express auxiliary power connectors. If you don't have those, it's not going to run. It seems pretty simple, but it's just something to keep in mind. So if you're going to go for one of these very powerful video cards, realize you might also have to end up replacing your power supply, because if you have a 300 watt power supply, it's not going to run some of these higher end video cards. Even if you have a 500 watt power supply, if it doesn't have the right connectors on it, it's still, you may not be able to use a video card. So that's the big thing with this as far as system requirements go, is realize you may need a special power supply or a better power supply to make them work. The final thing, it's not really system requirements, but something to keep in mind is some of these video cards are just obnoxiously big. So the video card I have in my computer at home is like that long. I mean, it's like a foot, I don't know, it's probably like 14 inches long. It's huge. So when I tried to shove it into the original case I had for my computer, it didn't fit. Now, me being a computer guy, of course, I had a few cases in the back, and so I swapped out all the parts and I put all the parts into a new case that would fit the video card. But it is something to realize, especially with a lot of these desktop computers now. They make them smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, which is great. It makes it fit wherever it needs to fit. But the video card may not physically fit inside of it. Just because it's PCI Express doesn't mean, like I say, that you can shove this whole thing in there. So be careful with that, especially if you have a smaller desktop computer, like just physically smaller. So if you have a full ATX case, you should be fine. But again, especially like I say with Dells and these new smaller computers, the video card itself may not physically fit in the computer. So it's just something to keep in mind. But this is basically the advice that I give for all my clients for when you're buying these video cards. Again, there's a lot more specifics that you can go into. If you're interested in that, do some Google searching, do some your own research. There's a lot that you can talk about with video cards. The main thing though is when you go buy it, look at the software, see what the software requirements are, match that to this, and you should be fine. If you want to make sure you're future-proofing, find the video card that works for you, and then find the one that's $50 more expensive and buy that, and it should do you fine for a couple of years. These video cards, unless you're on the absolute cutting edge, again, if you buy a $150 video card, it should do fine for you for 3 or 4 years until you get rid of the computer anyway. So, as you know, I'm Eli the Computer Guy over here for EliTheComputerGuy.com and EverymanIT.com. Again, I'd like to thank Best Buy over here in Owings Mills, Maryland. They've let me come in to do some of these buying advice videos. As always, I enjoy teaching you this stuff and look forward to seeing you in the next one.